Welcome to the Nikki Speaks TV show, the Mental Health Series. Join me on this show as I interview mental health experts and business owners to share their perspectives. Let's explore grief, anxiety, and stress, relationship topics, divorce, adapting to life change, and women empowerment. Join me as we talk about and explore mental health together. This is Nikki Speaks TV. Welcome, guys, to the Nikki Speaks show. I have in studio today my very special friend, Andre Patterson, who is a serial entrepreneur. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good.
Good.
So tell me, Andre, what is it that you do? You are a serial entrepreneur.
Yes.
Tell me everything that you're involved in. So tell us all.
Well, I'm a technologist by trade,
Okay.
right? So that's my background, right? But as far as like all the different things we've got going on, so my family and I, we started a math reading learning center about 17 years ago. We bought into a franchise.
17?
Yes.
Wow.
We were in that franchise for about 2 years, and then we broke off and did our own thing, right?
Okay.
About 8 years ago, we spun up another version of it as well to go in parallel with that brick and mortar. So we did an online version of it and took it, national and then international. We definitely had students or have students internationally.
That's great.
We also have more recently a health and wellness business that specializes in red light therapy, and so that's what I've been driving lately. Now, if we bring in the other businesses along with my nuclear family, they're all in the entertainment side. So they're actors, and my wife is an acting coach and producer and all those good things. And so we're definitely involved in different projects there as well.
Wow. What would you say your passion is when it comes to business and all that you do?
Well, I think if you look at the theme in general of all the businesses that I've been a part of, the main passion is impacting people's lives.
Okay.
That's really what's driven myself, my parents that have also been coming along for that ride as well. As a matter of fact, kind of being the spark to everything.
Right.
But that's what really pulls me, right? I mean, sure, we're in business to make money, but there's nothing like impacting someone's life in a positive way and getting those stories. So that's a big passion for me.
When did you know that that's how what you wanted to do is impact people's lives? Was there a certain point in your journey that you knew that?
Yeah, I think it was progressive in the beginning, especially on the math reading learning side, when you were dealing with so many kids that were behind, right? Of course, the ultimate goal was to get children ahead. But when we really started seeing how some of these children were impacted, because a lot of times, even educators will tell you, a lot of it has to do with the child's confidence.
Okay.
Right? So sure, they may struggle on lack of particular skills, but when that confidence is impacted in a positive way, when they realize they can do it, that is really when it starts sparking it for me. On the health and wellness side, I actually got exposed to impacting people's lives maybe about 10 years ago. I got exposed to a particular product that was pretty revolutionary at the time. And so that's when we started seeing the stories coming from that, especially from immediate family, that's when I realized that, man, this is something that I really enjoy. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me about the services you offer, because I know you mentioned red light therapy.
Sure.
So some people may be watching that don't know exactly what that is.
I'd be shocked if most people knew what it was.
I just found out because of you.
Yes, yeah. As a matter of fact, red light therapy itself, that's the layman's term. It's actually been around a long time. I'd say 50 plus years.
Okay.
The science behind it's been around 100 years, right? But the technical term, if you had to look it up, is photobiomodulation, or PBMT. So photobiomodulation therapy. And to make a long story short, red light therapy, when we're exposed to that particular light source, whether it's both a combination of red light and near infrared, which is different than far infrared, which is usually associated with infrared saunas. There's a couple things that happens. So ATP, which is kind of the gasoline or fuel of our cells, goes way up. Oxidative stress and inflammation, which are the lead causes of disease, goes way down. So ultimately, the body's ability to heal itself goes way up. So the applications for the technology are wide-ranging, right? So the big groups that are familiar with red light or have heard of it tend to fall in the beauty world. So estheticians are familiar with what the amazing things that it does for the skin.
Isn't it anti-aging?
Absolutely. Anti-aging, so, due to increasing collagen and all those good things. But more importantly, reduction of scarring, right? That's a big one. Reducing scarring from, say, like post-op care. We've had a number of customers come to us that have things like rosacea or any, eczema is a popular one as well, where, anything that causes itching or inflammation, red light therapy is great for. Another group usually falls in the chiropractic realm. So many of them have heard of red light therapy as cold laser. So that's an older term for it. Somewhat relevant in some cases for how it's delivered, but they use it, of course, to address joints, to address deeper tissues, and speed up the healing from injuries from things like that. Yeah.
Wow. Is there any other service that you offered? I know you were speaking about the oxygen bar.
Yeah, absolutely. So we added the oxygen bar. So we do oxygen therapy, which for those that have been to Vegas may have seen it a few times. But oxygen therapy has been around a long time as well. And the reason we added that about a year and a half ago, one of the big benefits of red light therapy is increased circulation. So from our perspective, it just made sense to have that synergy to say, hey, look, if your circulation's up, if you add oxygen to it, right, it just increases that healing effect, right?
Right.
And that euphoric effect. And so that oxygen therapy is infused with aromatherapy. And there's a couple reasons why we do that. Number one, oxygen is typically drying. Right. So part of it is we infuse it with aromatherapy, which humidifies that air. Right. So it moistens the air. The other piece is we, of course, infuse it with that scent. So some people choose a scent that's more nostalgic. It just smells nice. Others choose certain scents based off of therapeutic benefits that come from essential oils. Right. So lavender is commonly used for those that want to go ahead and relax towards the end of the day. Peppermint and wintergreen are used for those that are suffering from allergies. So it does vary as to what kind of experience you want to have.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Inception Texas is coming to Dallas, you guys, from Los Angeles to Texas. That's right. Inception is the first mental health gym founded by CEO David McCullough and Tina McCullough from Farmington Hills, Michigan. I opened a franchise in Los Angeles a couple years ago, and when the pandemic hit, I came back to Texas, and now I'm so excited to open again in the future. I would love your support. Click the link below to join our email list and to stay connected for investment opportunities. Well, tell me about, I know we talked earlier about mental health and how so many people are struggling right now.
Yeah.
How does your business support, people with mental health? I know that mental health and physical health, have a correlation,
Absolutely.
A pretty strong connection. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Again, a lot of the studies that are being done on red light or photobiomodulation are no longer around the phenomenon on what happens when our cells are exposed to the light. It's now, they know that happens. They know that all these different processes are kicked off. But now they're trying to figure out, well, what does that mean for all these different ailments? And the results are fascinating, right? So they're using red light therapy to address PTSD, TBIs, like traumatic brain injuries. They're using it to address and look into like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. I mean, you go down the list of all these different challenges or ailments. As a matter of fact, they're also using it in the context of for children or adults that are on the spectrum, that are autistic. And we personally have seen immediate effects for one of our clients that has their son using it as well. And so if you combine that with oxygen, there's a lot of studies around what that can do for calming effects, right? For the reduction of anxiety, for reduction or improvement of mood, right? And then not to even take into account how, just like you stated, how we're impacted by pain, right? So pain is a mind-altering thing.
Yes, it affects everything.
Absolutely. And so I don't have any autoimmune disorders myself, but one of the things that my family and I do, we're martial artists. So there's always something jacked up, right? And I remember I threw my back out. This was a couple years ago, and it gave me a glimpse, just a glimpse, into how pain can really impact everything in your life, right?
Wow.
And so when we used that red light, it was amazing. And what was even more amazing was the fact that how our minds work. We're not really designed to remember pain, right? We remember that we hurt, but we don't remember the hurt.
Otherwise, there would not be anyone having babies.
I believe it. Absolutely. I get
if we
that.
remember that. Yeah.
So, but it was amazing on how much I was impacted and affected just by being alleviated from that pain. And so we've had clients that have come in. One of the ones actually, I don't want to say it's common, but we've had a number of clients come in with trigeminal neuralgia, which some people refer to it as
what is that?
Well, so they refer to it as the suicide disease, right? There's the trigeminal nerve, right, that runs through our face. And what ends up happening is you have shooting, radiating pain all day, every day, just radiating down your face.
Oh, wow.
And that's why they call it a suicide disease, because it drives people crazy. And to treat it is very, very difficult to do, right? So one of the benefits of red light therapy is it can serve as a nerve block, and there is a protocol that you can follow with the targeted light therapy in order to address that. And we've had 2 in particular that benefited greatly from us using that. And so yet again, imagine how that impacted her mental health, right?
Right.
And so there's just so many different facets that I would say that red light therapy impacts.
So walk us through your experience, because you mentioned that when you threw your back out, you know, it affected your mental health. Tell us some of the things. Let us be in your mind real quick.
Sure. Well, the first thing is it's almost like a form of denial, right? So, and this is where you can injure yourself even more. So it's kind of like
I'm not hurt.
Yeah, I'm not hurt, or I'm not as hurt as I thought I was, or I can still do this, whatever that may be. And when I say this, like putting your pants on, right? You know, and it is a humbling experience. And so there were so many different things that I was going through, especially when, you know, due to the fact that we are in martial arts, right?
Right.
You depend greatly on your body to do a lot of those things, and you become confident.
Hurry up, heal.
Exactly. You're confident in being able to use your body, right? And you have to kind of come to terms. Now, in all fairness, it was relatively short. Right? When I say short, I'd say the overall effect lasted maybe 4 or 5 days. But I say that's relatively, right? I mean,
how long did it feel like?
It felt forever, right? It felt forever. Yes, absolutely. And so that is definitely something that you know, affected me in all sorts of ways. But I will also say that it gave me a sense of empathy, even more so when dealing with our clients, right? Okay. So when I would train my staff, I'd always tell them, I said, look, many of these people are coming in, right? And by the way, red light therapy is not just for people that are in pain. It's a common thing, of course. Right. But of course, athletes are using it for performance. You have people that are using it for beauty, reasons, what have you. But pain is a big driver. And I would tell them, I said, when you have someone coming in, many of these people are coming in with pain. Don't take it personal. Right? They may be short with you. They may snap at you. That's a good point. Right? You're not meeting that person. You're meeting their representative. Right? And that was always a big help when I was talking to my staff. Right? Was you would see personality changes. You would really see personality changes. Like they go in one way and come out a whole other way. Absolutely. I'll tell you, one of my biggest groups was probably within the first 3 or 4 months. And I used to call them my cocoon group. I don't know, for those that remember, maybe I'm dating myself a little bit, the movie Cocoon, right? I vaguely remember that. Possibly, it was a little bit. No, just a little bit. And the reason why I call them my Cocoon group is because they felt like they found a fountain of youth, right? And when I say Cocoon group, these people were probably in their 70s and 80s. Okay? Oh, okay. And they would come like clockwork every day. Every day at noon. Every day? Every day at noon, right? To get red light therapy? Yes, yes. Wow. They would post up for hours all day, and they would take turns getting in and out of the light bed, right? And I remember one in particular that kind of was the the catalyst for bringing these people, she brought her husband, and her husband had suffered from 2 strokes the previous year.
Okay.
And he was in a significant decline. Like, I mean, you could see, I mean, before he was very upbeat, very engaging. When she brought him into us, he was shuffling in, head, held down low. He spoke well, but I mean, he was just quiet, subdued, and he just seemed out of it a lot, right?
Oh, okay.
I'd say by month 3, that man was a different man.
Really?
Yeah, he was different. I mean, he was vibrant. He was alive. And she found herself having to go back to the treatment room with him because he was flirting.
Oh. He found himself.
He found himself, apparently. But it was amazing how I don't know how much of that had to do with the impact from the strokes and maybe the impact of getting old and feeling his age.
Right.
But it was amazing on how much he had been altered by getting relief, and not just relief, but getting energized. Right. The amazing thing that I always like to drive with people is it's not the red light that does the healing; it's your body that does it. All the red light does is serve as a catalyst for your body to do what it's designed to do.
Well, and it's so funny because I hear that so often now that our body can heal itself. Like we know what we need to heal ourselves. So, I mean, I think that tools like red light therapy and oxygen therapy are so essential in kind of guiding that process or helping that process for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're finding more and more. I mean, just look at how they're looking at how the gut impacts us, right? I mean, you just go down the list of all these different approaches that I don't necessarily, subscribe to Western medicine versus Eastern medicine or what have you. The notion is a comprehensive view of what does your body need and how can we optimally leverage our bodies.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think a lot of it's a 3-tiered approach. It's not just the physical, right? It's the mental and the spiritual, right?
Absolutely.
And so a lot of times, I think addressing the mental is extremely important. There's so many times where we know that ailments can be psychosomatic. I've seen it where people have caused physical ailments through
manifestation of symptoms. Yeah,
I could see it. And so I think that the introduction of these other technologies or sciences is amazing on being able to biohack our ways into wellness.
Yes, biohacking. I love that.
You just made the choice, 'cause now you know how far you can go, and nobody can hold you back no more. So don't you give up, take control of your life. You are enough, don't need anyone to tell you twice. You will rise up like a phoenix, you'll rise to the fire.
So tell me, what is next for you in your business?
Yes.
What are you up to?
Well, we just merged our services.
Yay!
Yes. So we merged our services with iCryo.
Okay.
iCryo Frisco.
Tell us about them.
Yeah, so they're amazing. So I met the owner a while back. He became one of our clients. He was familiar with red light therapy. Okay. There's not very many people here in the DFW that do what we do. Okay. But he had heard about it, and he came and started partaking in our services, and we struck up a relationship, right? We just talking, business owner to business owner.
Right.
And a lot of our philosophies aligned up in the sense that we loved seeing the impact that we were having on our clients' lives, right? And so at iCryo, there's a number of modalities that they do. So they've got IV therapy, compression. They do, of course, cryo,
Right.
but in two different forms, both in a whole body, cryo chamber, as well as localized.
Right.
They do cool sculpting as well. And so it just made sense to add this to the list. He was starting to get many inquiries on red light therapy. We're starting to see that trend where before, when we first opened up our doors, no one I talked to had ever heard of red light therapy.
So you had to do a lot of education.
Oh, a lot of education. A lot of education. I was on my grind. We used to have a monthly info session, right, where we'd cater it. We'd invite people, to come in, and we would just present and give demonstrations. And those were great. It was amazing. But it was very, very taxing. Yeah, it was hustling, right? But I'd say maybe, I don't know if it was sparked by the pandemic, but we are started seeing the trend a little bit before the pandemic, but we started seeing more and more people looking for alternatives to medication.
Okay.
Right? So, of course, it was coming off the heels of the opioid crisis, right? And so more and more people were asking about red light therapy. So it was the same thing at iCryo. They were asking him, hey, do you do red light therapy here? And he's like, no, but they're right down the street. So recently we just made that decision to say, you know what, let's go ahead and merge our services. And so we're taking our oxygen bar, our targeted light therapy, our whole body light pod over to the iCryo location. And as far as myself, I'm being moved into the role where, of course, I'm going to be head of red light therapy and oxygen for the locations here in DFW.
Okay.
But more importantly, I'll be in charge of taking our services mobile, which excites me very much. So, yeah.
Yes. Explain that. How is that going to work?
Yeah. So
How can I sign up?
So we're still in our infancy in the planning, but high level, there's two models that we, of course, are looking at. Okay. The one model is, of course, corporate wellness, right? So striking up deals with corporations. There's so many headquarters here in the DFW that it just makes sense to, strike up deals with. These corporations are realizing that, taking into account the wellness of their employees is important.
Which I love.
Right? I love that. Yeah. And a lot of it also, of course, I think people are enjoying the fact that working from home, but now they're starting to see burnout.
Absolutely.
Right? They're starting to see burnout.
And back pain.
Absolutely.
We're sitting all day.
Back and neck pain, right? Looking down at the phones, looking at the laptops. And so that's...
And our eyes
absolutely.
are
all of that. And so that's one aspect where we definitely want to strike up deals with corporations where we can come on site and provide services to their employees. Okay. The other is more of a concierge approach, right? Where we can come to a specific facility or a person's house, right? So those are the main two options that we're looking at, where we can take the services to the field. And I think that there's so much opportunity there.
Wow. I love it. Yeah. So tell me, what is your why? What is your drive for all that you do?
Well, there's a couple, there's a few things for me. This is, of course, getting a little personal, but I'd say the why, of course, goes back to what I said earlier. I really enjoy and impacting people's lives. That's a big one. Right. The other thing that's been driving me in general is legacy. Right, for my children and my wife, even in the sense that my wife and I are definitely one accord in the sense that we want to provide something that's got lasting impact and residuals to our children, right? And so we wanted to build something, and that was a big thing. The other big thing for me was, especially within the context of the pandemic. We saw how impacted the African American community was, right? Of course, many communities were impacted, but definitely the African American community. And oftentimes, regardless of how you want to look at the history of health and wellness and the Black community, there has been mistrust there. And also there's been scenarios where we've been left out of things. And so it's been a big driver for me to expose many of those in the community that have never been exposed to these types of modalities. So that's a big why for me as well. I mean, it's not exclusive, but it is definitely intentional.
I love
where,
it.
I've gone around and really drop knowledge to those and say, hey, look, at least you can't say you didn't know about it.
True.
Right?
Absolutely
You still
true.
have to choose, but it's up to you to know about it. And this is my opportunity to go ahead and do so.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. What do you think? I know a lot of business owners feel the same that are African American and kind of feel that, the exposure is necessary so that we're educated about these different modalities and opportunities that are out there.
Sure.
What do you think is the first step for us collectively to bridge that gap as business owners?
Well, I think a lot of times as business owners, I think the first step is to get together, right? To get together and,
Network.
Network. Yeah, absolutely. Networking is a big deal, but being more intentional. Because a lot of times when we say network, a lot of times that could be ambiguous, right? It's kind of like just building relationships and it's a party, right? Which is good. I mean, I think business, the core awesome parts and foundational aspects of business, of course, are based on those relationships. Right. But then you have to move into that realm of intentionality. Right. And say, hey, let's be purposeful in how are we going to go ahead and address the informational gap. Right. And so there's enough people out there that can provide platforms that they can provide their facility and open it up and say, hey, come in. And this is not a money grab. This is an informational dissemination, platform that we're engaging in. Right. Right. And so I think that's probably the first step is just to establish the fact that this is something that we collectively are wanting to do.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so tell me how people can find you, how can they connect with you? But before you do that, I want you to speak to your ideal client, which it sounds like it's just many people, it's everyone.
Everybody.
Yeah, right. So speak to that person that needs you but doesn't know they need you.
So I think it's a hard one to answer just because most of the people that come to us, we're desperate. Yeah. And they know they needed something. They may not have known that they needed red light therapy, but they needed something, right? But
fix me.
Yeah, fix me, right? And so those folks were definitely ideal. However, I would contend to say that oxidative stress impacts everyone. Right. So
explain that just in case people don't know what that is.
Yeah. So oxidative stress, quite simply, is the aging process. Right. That's oversimplified. And the way I like to, paint the picture is imagine you take an apple, you cut it in half, and you leave it on the table. And that browning effect that happens over time, that's oxidation. Well, that happens to us at the cellular level all over, both
that's a great
outside
example.
and inside.
I'm gonna use that.
Awesome. Yeah. And so I think, and that's really key. And so the CDC basically has established that 85% of all disease is impacted by oxidative stress and inflammation. Right. So those are key contributors. And so any way that you can reduce oxidative stress, the aging effect, that definitely lends itself to freeing your body up to, longevity, healing itself, and all those good things. So it's not just the folks that are in trouble, meaning that the people that are in pain or dealing with an injury or something. I think what really should be focused more on, and I see it more and more, is the fact that health and wellness should be in everybody's purview, right? Where it should be a part of the
your
practices.
routine.
Absolutely. One of the things that I'll say, and this may be slightly controversial, I don't know, but we're seeing a lot of kids come in to the facility from injuries or damage to their bodies. And athletics are key and important to me, but they are being pushed heavily, but not a lot of focus on recovery.
Wow.
Right? They're not giving enough time to let their bodies heal. So even though they're young, they're still incurring a lot of damage. Okay. And so I would contend, and I would speak to those people and say, if you can, find a location near you, focus on what are you doing on recovery? What are you doing on, promoting wellness and longevity in those bodies, so you're not looking at knee replacements at the age of 40. Right. And so from that perspective, it should be more preventative, not coming to us once everything is falling apart.
Right. Now, what if someone that just wanted to come for beauty reasons or what have you, how often should they come?
So the
Somebody
rule,
like myself.
well, Nikki, you only need it maybe once a month.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, yeah, someone, period.
Gotcha. So the rule of
Thank you.
thumb is twice a week. That's the
Twice a
rule of
week.
thumb. Once a week, yes, you'll see some benefits, but it's really a cumulative effect, right?
Okay.
So the more you do it, the better. If you could do it every day, that's phenomenal. That's great. But the people that tend to do it every day are the ones that are suffering from a lot of pain, and they're using it as a replacement for their pain medication, right? So making it part of your regimen twice a week was probably ideal.
Right. And you had, I know you used to have packages. Will you have packages with your new partnership?
Yes, we're still finalizing a lot of those packages, right? And so like the handheld will be available officially in about a month or so, maybe a little bit more. The whole body light pod is there already. Same thing with
What's the
oxygen.
difference between those two?
Yeah, so the whole body light pod, for those that are familiar with red light therapy, most of those folks haven't seen a whole body light pod. It basically looks like a tanning bed. It really does. When you actually look at it, it looks like a tanning bed, but it's not. It's not a tanning bed. It doesn't use UV. It doesn't use ultraviolet. It uses red light and near infrared. And so that applies the therapy to the whole body. Now, the handheld, the targeted light therapy, is the oldest or the older form factor of red light therapy. That's been around 40 years, 50 years.
Okay.
Different devices that apply it that way, right? But it's much more concentrated. So one treatment from the handheld is like 4 treatments to the in the bed. Right, but a targeted area. So a lot of times we do have clients that do both, where they want us to focus on a specific area, right? So they may have neck pain or knee issues, frozen shoulder issue or something like that. So they want to address that with the targeted light therapy, but then of course they want to do the whole body light pod for the overall benefits, right? And so those are probably the biggest use cases. I do want to call out, even though we don't necessarily have it at our facility, you're starting to see a lot of different form factors of red light therapy. I know that there's an orthodontist here in the DFW that uses red light as a mouth guard, right?
Wow.
Yep. And he's doing that to speed up the prognosis for braces, right? You go to his website. It's amazing. I mean, he's taking people from 17 months to 8 months in braces just by them putting in the mouth guard, for 5 minutes a day.
It really helps heal that fast.
Absolutely. We've got another one
amazing.
that I chuckle at. I don't know if you've been seeing these laser hats, these red light laser hats.
I did. I looked at that.
Yeah, and they
Interesting.
I chuckle because I know where that came from. Where that came from was that they were using red light therapy to address TBIs, right? The traumatic brain injuries.
Okay.
But the byproduct was it was regrowing hair.
It's like, we'll take it.
Absolutely. And so what do? Let's go after our vanity, right?
Right.
But we're starting to see more and more devices out. I know there's a company out there called Lumathera. They're using red light to restore eyesight in children that have macular degeneration.
Wow.
They are using red light therapy to restore hearing. Right. So again,
amazing.
it is
it's
absolutely
like the best
amazing.
Kept secret.
It is.
Well,
It
no
really
longer a
is.
secret, but yeah.
Well, and actually, internationally, it's more commonly known.
Okay.
Right. So here in the United States, it's not known as much. And I remember I used to do a lot of international travel, and I'd ask when I was first doing my cursory anecdotal research.
Right.
I was just calling people around the world that I knew, and I was like, "Hey, you heard of this red light therapy thing?" They're like, "Yeah, we've been doing that a long time." And I'm like, "Well, what's up with that? Why don't we know about it?" They're like, "Well, apparently you Americans like your pills."
Oh,
and I'm like,
wow.
"All right, that's valid."
Wow.
So, yeah.
So it's been out there for a while.
Oh yeah,
sounds
it's
like.
definitely been out there a
Yeah.
while. Tried and true.
You can find your voice if you just make the choice. 'Cause now you know how far you can go, and nobody can hold you back no more. So don't you give up. Take control of your life. You are enough. Don't need anyone to tell you twice. You will rise up like the phoenix. You'll rise to the fire. Yeah. You are enough. You're finding your voice. You're finding your voice. You're finding your voice.
So how do we find you? How do we connect with you? How does the client, reach out to you?
Yeah, so the easiest way is you can email me at my new email address.
Okay.
It's Andre, that's ANDRE .Patterson @iCryo.com. So you can reach me that way. You can always learn more about what we do at iCryo in general. PBM is on there as well. So if you go to iCryo.com and you can look up PBM therapy, that's giving you good information on red light therapy. Okay. And you also can go to our old website as well, which has a lot of information, which is escapepain.com, which is XSCAPE pain.com.
Awesome. Why the X?
Just it was creative.
Yeah,
it was creative.
I love it.
And we liked it was a part of our logo, and my mom actually came up with all of our graphic design and logo. That was she was in that business for 25 years. So so she did all that.
My last question is, what do you do for fun?
Oh man. So I've got a lot of different hobbies. Okay. I am what they would refer to as a blurred.
You're a serial hobbyer as well?
I'm a blurred. I'm a black nerd. Undercover blurred. Sometimes.
Okay,
yes,
I've never heard that.
Yep, absolutely. Got to think about it.
I'm a blurred too.
Look up BlurredCon. There is a conference for blurreds. Yes.
Oh, I need to go.
Yes.
Yeah, I love being in books. Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely am an avid reader. So I like to read. I am a gamer. I have always been. I love video games.
Which is your favorite?
Well, so I tend to like, especially now anything that's RPG, so role playing game of some sort, action RPG, tends to be my my go to.
Give me an example, because I know nothing about those.
So there's different ones out there. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a popular one out there.
We're getting a clap in the studio from the producer.
Yeah, so
yes.
That's a fun one, definitely. That eats up a lot of my time. Any of the expansive games like that. Grand Theft Auto isn't a true RPG, but of course...
I've heard of that one.
Yes, but that one had to kind of get some dust on it because, of course, I can't play that around the children.
Yes.
Please. Yes. So any of those types of games I'm a big fan of. But overall, I'm actually a big board gamer as well.
Are you?
Yes. When it comes to games in general, but again, I can get really nerdy.
Chess or checkers? Sorry, I know. I thought you were about to say
Monopoly. That's even more basic. No.
Monopoly, you learning how to build wealth.
Actually, I got introduced to Settlers of Catan maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, right? And that was a Pandora's box for me, right?
I don't even know what that is.
So Settlers, for those, if you ever hear people joking about, hey, would you like some wood with your sheep? It's basically a resource control game, right? Where you're trying to control the board at the end of the day. But that was like my real entry point into absolute nerddom. And there's many games. There was a group of us. Again, I said I was a technologist. So I worked for a large corporate computer manufacturer based in Austin, Texas. Okay. Rhymes with Kel. And there's a lot of us from Dell and from Microsoft, and we would get together every month, and we would pick a different board game, right? So someone would say, "Oh, I got a new board game. It's an indie game. Let's try it out." But there were some games that came out of there that I enjoyed. So the games that I tend to like are the ones that I refer to as relationship breakers.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Those that put the friendships to test. Anything that requires you to lie and be deceptive are great.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So Battlestar Galactica is a really good one, BSG. Cosmic Encounter is a game that's been around a long time. And I've passed that gene on to my children. So there's a lot of different card games. It's any type of games. I got that from my dad. I played sports. So if it's outdoor games, indoor games, video games, all the above, I don't discriminate.
To do.
Yep.
What about chess? Have you ever played chess?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So chess, when I was younger, the games that, of course, I played were the typical ones were, chess, Monopoly, Risk, Stratego. Those were ones that were more, I guess, considered, quote unquote, basic, if you'd say.
I wanted to learn how to play chess because I heard that it helps you form new neural pathways.
Absolutely.
I was like, wow.
So chess, of course, has been, a main staple from that perspective, but some people would contend that there's another one out there that's older than chess called Go.
Oh, really?
Yes, and it's got even more variations than chess does. I've personally never played, but it's pretty popular internationally. And so I don't know, if you were wanting to start a game, you may want to start with something that a lot of people around you don't know about, right?
True.
And just explore. I think there's so many games out there that it just shows the creativity, right? It shows the creativity of being able to, come up with different ways to do, whether it's cooperative games. There's games out there that we all have to win together. So those the games are the games. The kids that the kids tend to like those.
Yes. Teamwork.
Yeah, the teamwork ones. But you have others that, like I said, test those relationships. Shoot, a good game of Taboo can break a relationship in a hot second.
Yeah, that's an aggressive one right there.
It's like, what do you mean you don't know what I'm saying?
You can't even explain it. And then let me see the card. Let me see the words under the card.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are definitely a few of the many hobbies that we like to do. And of course, martial arts is in there as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on my show.
Thanks
thank you for
me.
sharing and just being a serial entrepreneur like you are and helping in so many ways. I love that you said that your mission, your purpose is to impact the lives of others in a positive way. So thank you. And I've enjoyed it.
I've really enjoyed myself as well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. Hope you guys love this week's episode on the Nikki Speaks TV Mental Health Series show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, and TikTok. And my web address is linktree/Nikki.speaks. Can't wait to see you next time.